Hey guys, this is Brandon with the TennesseeOutdoorForum.com. One of our members the other day posed a question about what do you value the difference between a bushcraft knife and a survival knife. And that's a very subjective question, and I know that it's asked a lot. I get a lot of questions about knives, and I wanted to see if I could address that and just give my opinions on that topic. And I know there's plenty other YouTube out there on this, but I wanted to do this just for the TennesseeOutdoorForum.com member Standing Bear. And I also want to give a shout out to a gentleman by the name of Mike Parker and a gentleman by the name that you may know from YouTube as Big Dirtification. Mike Parker and Big Dirtification were the 199th and 200th member of the Tennessee Outdoor Forum, and I want to thank them both very much for coming and showing up and patronizing the forum and giving us their support. I really appreciate both of them. When we're looking at survival knives and we're looking at bushcraft knives, the first thing that we have to keep in mind and bear in mind is that survival and bushcraft are two very different things. And people ask you a lot of times, well, what is a good survival knife? And the most honest and truthful answer to that I can give you is a survival knife is the knife that you have on the person at the time that you need to survive. That's why I advocate, and people write it off because everybody and their brother has done an EDC video. I advocate carrying a good quality fixed folding knife, something of a decent size, and having that on you at all times. That way you have the ability to have a cutting tool that's going to be an implement that can help you in the event that you need a knife to use in the woods to survive for some reason. Beyond that, I mean, I understand what people are saying, the difference between the survival and between bushcraft, and I wanted to show my opinion of what I would consider a really excellent choice for what some people would call a survival knife. I also want to show what I consider to be a good choice for what people would call a bushcraft knife, and I want to show a knife that I think is honestly the best of both worlds. So I'm going to title this video my 3 knives for survival and bushcraft. The first knife I want to start with is a knife that you all have seen me use in numerous occasions. It was a knife that was made specifically for me as a bushcrafter. We've done a video review on it recently with the maker that we put up on our YouTube channel. But it is the Flatwoods Forge Tanto Bushcraft Bowie. And we'll share that. This knife has an incredible amount of power, and I'm going to share some of that with you right now. I have a couple of other knives that we have to prop up over here before we do that. I've got this 2x4 out here, and I wanted to show you all what this knife is capable of doing with this 2x4. Now, as you can see, this is hardened 2x4. So you guys can see how quickly just those few little whacks, this is chewing through a hardened piece of a 2x4 just with very, very few hits. And this knife is built for that. I mean, if we wanted to go into the testing, you guys have seen knife testing to know what a knife is capable of doing. This particular knife is, I mean, it's capable of going completely through that. The size of that spine, you can split pretty much anything that you want to split. The greatest thing is that the gentleman that made this knife for me, in the materials alone, had less than 15 bucks in the materials. And that includes the file that it was made from, and that includes the Purple Heart handles that it has on it. The copper pins that are in it, the epoxy in the handle, everything less than 15 bucks in this knife. And this knife is just, it's one of my favorite bushcraft knife. It's one of my favorite all-purpose carry knives that I use for just about anything. Me and my mother-in-law cleared out a whole fence row in this brush row right over here next to my yard. Pan over there and get that brush row and show them. Pan down it. We cleaned out this whole brush row that she's shooting right now. in the video, and one of the main tools we used was this knife. So I mean, this knife has been an excellent tool. It holds up to pretty much any task that you want to do with it. Now, I consider that one of my better bushcraft knives. Another thing is that with the edge on this knife, you can do fine carving with this as well, and we've done that. On numerous occasions. You can even use it to the point if you needed to make a bow. You can use it like a draw knife. Due to the size of that spine, it gives you a good purchase to use. Now, I mean, I fully advocate that you need to be safe when using knives and you need to know what you're doing. But if you hold that the right way and use it, you can definitely use that as a draw knife or a push knife to clean. If you're wanting to build a bow or whatever you'd like to use that for. And it's good for a lot of tasks. So, that knife definitely is a very useful, what I would consider a bushcraft knife. Now, a lot of people go into, well, what about a survival knife? I want a survival knife. And when I think people talking about survival knife, I think about these gimpy knives we used to have back in the 80s that had these little compass that didn't really work and was only half full of water on the end, and you unscrewed the end off of it, and inside there'd be some matches that were dry rotted. There'd be fishing line that was like, it wasn't even, it'd fall apart if you put any kind of pressure on it, and rusty fish hooks, and you know the sort. You've all seen them with the little unscrewable ends, and you know, if that's all you have, it's all you have. But it's not something that I would call a survival knife. I mean, in all honesty, a knife like that is going to do nothing more than get you killed. You're not going to have a valuable or a tool that you're going to be able to use going on long term. So I want to show you what I would consider a larger size survival type knife that's capable of doing the bigger, heavier duty tasks that you'd have to do. If I was going to have one knife and I was going to use it specifically for shelter building, if I was going to use it specifically for processing firewood, if the only use I was going to have was for quartering out an animal or chopping out quarters out of a large animal, what knife would I want? Well, there are a lot of great ones out there. The one that I have is one of my favorites. The Ontario SP10 Marine Raider Bowie. It's heavy. It's got a lot of weight to the knife where you get a lot of heft. It's going to out-chop the other knives that you have. But you can't do the fine detail work as well with this knife. It does not carve as well. As you can see, I'm putting pressure. You're getting nowhere near the carving abilities out of that knife that we get out of the Flatwoods knife. But where it excels is this. As you can see, it's moved almost twice the wood with half the effort that the other knife moved. And that's because that's what this knife is made for. This knife is built to process wood, to process animals, to quarter out big, large game animals. Not only that, in a security role, you know, if it comes down, and I've always said, if any of you guys have ever watched any of my videos, God forbid that it comes down to a knife fight, guys, that you have to ensue in a knife fight with someone. But if you did, this is the one you want. Love the Ontario SP10 Marine Raider. So this would be the survival knife. This would be my bushcraft knife. You said, Brandon, you said 3 knives. You're going to show us the third knife in this. Yes, I am. The third knife is a knife that I would consider to be probably the best of both worlds all wrapped into one package. And you say, well, there's just no way that you can get that. Yeah, there really is. This knife is just an exceptionally made knife, which these knives in their own right are exceptional knives. But this knife is just an exceptionally made knife, and it's the first real video other than the unboxing that I'm featuring this knife in. And I'm going to show it to you now. This is the Tops Brothers of Bushcraft Bob Hunter. As you can see there. Now, this knife is specifically made as a bushcraft blade. It does not have the weight. It doesn't even have the length that either of the other knives have. But what this knife does have is an exceptional design, an exceptional grind on the knife, exceptional handles. The handle quality is superb on this knife. It's got several other options on this knife that you don't have on other knives. And that's what we want to show you here right now, is that number one, you'll see that this knife has a different kind of grind. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Scandi grind that you see on this knife. Bushcrafters for years have coveted the Scandi grind that you see in this grind line on this knife, which neither of the other knives possess. I like that. It makes the knife incredibly easy to sharpen, makes it incredibly easy to care for, and it also makes it retain a really fine edge on the blade. One other thing is that with this knife, it's made solid as a rock to the point where if I need to do big jobs, i.e. chopping a board, although not as easy, still not impossible to do. And still yet, even after chopping that board, plenty sharp enough to do the fine work. As you can see there, that knife is plenty capable of doing any fine carving you have. It has excellent jimping there on the spine for the thumb traction right in the perfect position for that type of work. Has nylon micarta handles on it, or canvas micarta handles on it, as you'll see. And actually, a lot of people don't get this, and I really didn't get it until I had one. I tried it out. This canvas micarta, to me anyway, when your hands start to get sweaty, or when they start to get wet, becomes sort of tacky and actually gives a little bit more traction and grip on the knife handle, which I really like. Another thing interesting about this knife is it does right here have a bow drill divot that's built into the handle. It has a bullet puller. You can pull a 223, 5.56, 7.65. You can pull basically any kind of combat rifle caliber bullet with this by simply inserting the bullet and then twisting down on the shell casing. Reclaim that gunpowder, use the gunpowder for first aid, for fire building, whatever you need to use it for. The other feature on this knife is it does have what they call a Shango notch. Shango notch is used to strike the fire steel. I have a fire steel here, which I can't really get to it, but you take it and you scrape it down the fire steel and it will actually strike your fire steel. So this is what I would consider to be the all-around best choice in between to kind of get the best of both worlds in one package. Now, none of these knives are cheap. I want to say that the knife that I have from Flatwoods Forge runs about $125. Probably the cheapest one of them is the largest one in the Ontario OSP-10 Marine Raider. I want to say it runs about $75. The Bushcraft Brothers Bushcraft knife can be purchased from our friend Scott Whittington at USA Made Blade. I purchased the knife for $104.